is Phil Vischer. Welcome back to the show. I'm here with Christian Taylor. Whoa, you lost all your hair, Christian. Where'd your hair go? It's not Christian Taylor. It's Sky Jatani.
I'm just not going to respond because that's dumb.
Sky has grown surly. Oh, dear. It's going to be a rough show.
Yes, it is.
Christian's
I apologize
not
in
here.
advance.
It's summer, and summer people travel and they have vacations. I just got back from vacation. Christian is just leaving for vacation, so right now it's just me and Sky. And Sky wants to be on vacation, which is why he's surly.
I have no vacation this summer.
None?
No, not really.
Okoboji.
That's a working vacation.
Yeah, you have to work. Okay. Let's do Jimmy Gord.
Hey, it's a podcast. What do you know? Hey, it's a podcast. And we got video. Hey, it's a podcast. So lend an ear. The Phil, whose podcast did this? The Phil Vischer podcast starts right here. We'll talk to Sky, but not Christian too, because she's not here. No, she's not here for you. Hey, it's a podcast, so lend an ear. The Phil Vischer podcast starts right here. The Phil Vischer podcast starts right here. I think I could eat a whole planet.
That was Jimmy's first famous line.
I think I could eat a whole planet.
Yeah.
But it wasn't pitch shifted.
No, it wasn't. Yeah, we had somebody say that they whenever I sing a theme song as a VeggieTales character, they take the audio file and they pitch shift it to see if it sounds accurate.
That person needs something else to do.
That's industrious. No, that's not how we approach things, Sky, surly Sky. We say, that's industrious.
Industrious?
He's working with his hands. Other
So did Jeffrey Dahmer. You don't reward
Other
it.
young people are just playing video games. He's taking clips of our podcast and seeing how they sound higher.
Brilliant.
I predict great things from this lad.
How do you know how old he is? He could be 62.
Speaking of great things, Pat Robertson is in the news again.
We're off to a great start. I can already tell.
Pat Robertson is in the news again because he's made another one of his prophetic declarations.
Okay.
Every now and then. He's kind of like Punxsutawney Phil. Every now and then he kind of waddles out from his little cage and he says something.
And what does Punxsutawney Phil say?
He says,
I see my shadow.
that's what he says.
I see my shadow.
Unless he says,
I don't see my shadow. It's winter for you. No spring for you.
The thing is, though, we don't have an entire day dedicated to Pat Robertson, and unfortunately, he tends to come out more than once a year.
He does. He does come out more than once a year. But
there have been a couple cases where we've had him mentioned on the show where we agreed with him. Remember that?
Yeah.
What was that about? I don't
Because he
remember.
decided he was in favor of legalizing marijuana, and you're an
No,
old pothead from way back in high
that
school.
was not
I
the
went to
one.
Bible college, so I don't even know what marijuana is. But you went to the University of Miami at Ohio,
Miami University.
of Ohio.
It's just Miami University.
University of Ohio, Miami.
No. It was a university before Florida was a state.
Oh, come on.
As we like to say.
You're making that up.
I'm
But
not making that up.
Is there a city named Miami?
No, but there's the Miami River.
Oh, really?
And there were the Miami Indians who inhabited that part of the country before
and then
they
the
were.
white people carried them off to Florida?
No, we just relocated them. I don't know why I say we. I had nothing to do with it. I'm only half white, so I don't
so
take
you have
responsibility.
to blame.
No, I'm not. Anyway,
You can hide behind your Indian.
whatever. We used to.
Okay.
We're kind of related to the Redskin fiasco going on in the NFL because the Miami team used to be the Redskins, and now we're the Red Hawks.
Oh.
Because they changed that actually when I was
Okay.
a senior, I think.
But you didn't have anything to do with the Washington Redskins
No, but
becoming the
but that,
Redskins. They didn't say, "Oh, good, now that you're not using it anymore,
No.
we're going to jump on that."
But we made that switch like 20 years ago,
Yeah,
and they are
before
still
it was cool.
right.
Did people change away from Native American names sooner, or from calling themselves the Crusaders in Christian schools sooner? Which happened?
I think we switched away from the Redskins name before Wheaton College switched away from Crusaders.
But my alma mater was also the Crusaders.
Were they?
And they switched before Wheaton College.
When did they switch, and what did they become?
Maybe a couple of years. Ironically, Wheaton College became the Thunder.
Yeah.
My alma mater, Crown College, became the Storm.
Oh, I thought the Lightning.
No, but it's The storm.
The storm.
Yeah, because
Is it like a Job 38
we
kind
want
of
to be
reference?
something scary. We want to be something scary and attacking.
But magnificent and divine.
Somehow related to God,
How about the whirlwind?
but not in a way where we murder lots of innocent Muslims. That's so Crusaders were out. Well, and then Campus Crusade became crew because they didn't want to
Right.
have that. No one wants to have that word. Crusade has become a not acceptable term. Like Redskin.
Yeah, but for a different reason.
For different reason.
Yeah.
Because it's offensive, which is the
One
same
is
reason.
historically offensive, the other is racially offensive.
Yeah, what you said. Okay, so Pat Robertson.
Pat Robertson.
Remember Pat Robertson?
Let's see if we agree with him. What does he
He's
say?
not a Redskin, although in this shot he's wearing a little more makeup than he needs to be wearing.
Is he like John Boehner?
He's kind of an orange skin.
Yeah.
I would put him in the orange skin category. But he had to let everybody know that tattoos are in fact unbiblical, even if it's a tattoo of Jesus.
Okay.
Even if you get Jesus tattooed on your calf like Justin Bieber.
Does he have Jesus on his calf?
Yes, he does. A huge Jesus. Well, it has a tiny calf, so maybe the Jesus isn't all that big since he's only about 2 feet high. It's a small Jesus, but it looks huge when applied to a tiny Bieber calf, which it makes the most tender meat if you've ever had
Milk-fed.
Bieber
Right.
calf. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so Justin Bieber. No, I'm talking about Pat Robertson, because I was on a Christian website. And this is where I became very concerned about the church in America, at least.
You want to name the website?
As it shows up online. No, I don't. I don't remember what it was, but people would ask questions, and then they would crowdsource the answers.
Those are never going to be good answers.
Christian
Wisdom does not come from crowdsourcing.
No.
Yeah.
As that poster says, meetings because none of us are as dumb as all of us.
I have that on a mug.
Do you?
Yeah,
Have that on a
it dates
mug?
back to my years on staff at the church.
That's fantastic. I won't say what. I won't ask what inspired.
It was a gift from an elder.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was on this site, and someone asked the question, a very good question: is it a sin to get a tattoo? Mm-hmm. Now, okay, well, let's hear the well-reasoned responses. And there were 7 responses, and I think 5 of them said yes. It is a sin to get a tattoo, because there is, in fact, a verse in Leviticus
Yes.
that says the Israelites were not to cut or mark their bodies.
Except for circumcision.
Yes, which is a cut
Yes.
and a mark. Leaves a mark.
Right.
But that's it. No other marks or cuts.
Okay.
And I was a little bit dumbfounded that people would not see that as specifically part of the ceremonial law of Israel.
That does not apply to New
Think
Testament.
that I can't now tattoo a little cross on my ankle.
I heard a story
Something
about
like
that, and I haven't verified this online. So if anybody can prove this wrong,
Okay,
please
prove
do.
$5 if you prove Sky wrong. Sky will give you $5 just from Sky.
I'm not going to say anything. So do you remember Tom Arnold?
Yes,
Tom Arnold.
He used to be. Are they still married?
Roseanne Barr.
Yeah.
No, that's
Okay.
part of the story.
Oh,
So apparently Roseanne Barr is Jewish, and Tom Arnold was not. And when
Yeah.
they were getting married, he wanted to show his devotion both to her and to his new Jewish faith. Apparently he converted.
okay.
So he had a
So he tattooed Jesus on his arm?
He tattooed a picture of Roseanne on one side of his chest and a Star of David on the other.
Oh, that seems ill-advised.
And only after the fact did the rabbi inform him that tattoos are not cool with the Torah.
Okay.
And then, of course, the marriage didn't last, and I don't know what
Was
he
it
ended up
related to
doing
the
with it.
tattoos?
Could have been. I
Is
don't
he
know.
still Jewish?
I don't know.
Did he have his breasts removed to get rid of the 2 tattoos?
I think you can remove a tattoo without actually having to take a pound of flesh.
Well, that's a relief.
So Pat Robertson is also saying that this Leviticus
He says it
law
doesn't.
applies?
So if you want a Jesus tattoo, the fact that it's Jesus does not make it okay because it's religious. Believe me, Robertson responded. I mean, it could be a tattoo of some hoochie cooch girl. It doesn't really make any difference.
This is a direct quote.
This is an exact quote.
Okay, this isn't you putting words in his mouth.
This does not in any way date Pat Robertson, that he thinks of tattoos of hoochie cooch girls.
I hear that term and I just think of Charo. That's all
I'm
that
not
comes
sure
to
if
mind.
we've had an actual hoochie cooch girl since we had white men singing in blackface, which I believe was the 1880s.
Yeah, and that was a pretty good football team for a while, but they had to change their name.
So he says the Bible outlines that people cannot, quote, mark their bodies and cut themselves like the heathen did. Tattooing is a heathen practice. It is not a Christian practice to mar the body that God gave you. Never mind overeating. As you see people that have gone crazy on this and their bodies are just filled with these things, it is a heathen practice and it is prohibited in the Old Testament. So the fact that it's Jesus doesn't make a bit of difference.
Okay.
I'm not sure if we're majoring on the majors.
I think there's some flaws in his logic there.
Yeah, so my daughter has 2 tattoos.
Yeah. She's clearly a heathen.
What do I tell her?
Tell her not to hang out with Pat Robertson.
And neither of them are Jesus, but one of them symbolizes the Trinity.
Well, then he's partly represented, isn't he? Oh, now we're going to get into some messy theology. But that's not actually true.
I know.
That's not the Trinity. That's not how that works.
No, okay. So what's your message for my daughter?
Yeah, okay, no, not for your daughter, for Pat Robertson. Yeah. There's a lot of laws in the Old Testament which are intended and designed to distinguish the Jewish people from their pagan surroundings. Like the dietary laws. They did not eat the same foods as the cultures around them. It was a way of separating. Circumcision was a mark fairly unique to Jewish culture, Israelite culture at the time, and different from the cultures around them.
Right.
Early on, they weren't to have a king, unlike the Egyptians and the Assyrians and all these others. They were to be different. So there's all these various things that are put there to be different.
They weren't to make clothes out of more than one type of fabric.
Right. So they're all separation kind of laws that keep you distinct. And this is one of them. So there were pagan cultures at the time that used tattoos as a way of religious symbology and things like that. And God says, not for you.
But don't we have that today? True.
Yeah, but here's the difference.
Gangs?
Here's the difference.
Have you heard of gangs, Sky?
Hold on.
Okay.
Here's the difference. Thousands of years ago when that law was given, it was a distinguishing mark of God's people that they did not have tattoos, and that was a way of identifying them. But today, tattoos are not particularly associated with religious identity.
Right.
So you don't see someone with a tattoo and go, oh, well, they're clearly a Mormon, or they're clearly Hindu, or they're clearly Muslim, and therefore Christians shouldn't have them because it's a way of distinguishing oneself as a Christian. That's not how the New Testament works. In fact, Paul says, referring to circumcision as a distinguishing mark, he says neither circumcision nor uncircumcision counts for anything, but only faith working through love. And love is to be the distinguishing mark.
If you're uncircumcised, don't strive to be circumcised.
Right.
And if you're circumcised, don't strive to be uncircumcised, which is a very interesting thought.
Yes, which was actually a procedure that could be done in the ancient world.
But we don't know how to do it anymore. We lost the
someone
technology.
Probably does. I think it involved hooks and stones and weird things. But that's from 1 Corinthians 7.
Can we unpack
Google it.
Okay.
Or don't. But the whole point being, external marks, whatever they may be, whether it's circumcision or tattoos or whatever, are not where one identifies either belonging or not belonging to Christ. It's faith working through love. So, for example, what do you do with the person who comes to faith in Christ as an adult after they've gotten tons of tattoos?
They have to get rid of them all or replace them with Jesus or Pat Robertson.
Yeah, so I think he's completely out to lunch. He doesn't know what he's talking about.
Yeah. Okay, really? You're going to go on the record saying you don't think Pat Robertson knows what he's talking about?
I am going to go on record in this instance. Yes. Now, those
are fighting words. I think a pretty big chunk of our audience are Pat Robertson fans.
Well, I don't think in this case he knows what he's talking about.
Okay.
I've obviously agreed with him about some things in the past. But the bigger question is, as a Christian, what should you do if you're thinking about getting a tattoo?
Jesus tattoo.
See, I kind of feel like...
What about the Pope?
Do you think he has a tattoo?
No, can we get Pope tattoos?
He had a Harley Davidson.
Can Protestants get Pope tattoos? Or is that crossing some sort of line?
Why would you get a Pope tattoo?
Because you're such a big fan of the new Pope. Not old Coke, new Coke. You like the new Coke Pope.
The new Pope.
The new Pope Coke. Yes.
Well, but what I wouldn't get that tattoo until he's done, because you don't know what he's going to do yet, and then you go, oh,
that's true.
I might regret that tattoo.
Like the girlfriend that may not end up being your girlfriend, and you tattoo her face all over your left pectoral.
The tattoo is a fairly permanent decision that should not be made by people who are not thinking long term.
I don't think anyone under 30 should be allowed to get a tattoo.
And how old is your daughter?
Oops. Never. Did I say that out loud? Okay. The nice thing to know, though, is that not all Christian ministers are thinking about things so trivial.
No.
That's nice to know, because Pastor Ed Young has launched a blog post, or a whole blog called Pastor Fashion. Have you heard of it?
Actually, I have, yes.
Pastor Fashion.
Yes.
And
I don't subscribe, obviously.
He's giving fashion advice to pastors. He's a megachurch pastor.
I've interviewed him before.
In Dallas.
Yeah.
So this week on Pastor Fashion, he recommends to other pastors a pop of color. Everyone can appreciate a great pop of color to next level your wardrobe.
What is a pop of color? Is that like Crush?
However, for us men, this is often an aspect of our style we overlook. Over the next series of posts, we are going to take a look not at the book of Leviticus, not at unpacking the Trinity, how we can make a bold statement with just some subtle pieces that will take your style to, quote, a whole nother level.
Nother?
Nother. Yeah, that's what the white megachurch pastor.
I think you and I need a pop of color. You notice we're gray.
Well, Christian is our pop of color.
That's true. She is our pop.
She's a pop of color.
Let's just call her
Is that like whack-a-mole?
Let's call her pop of color.
If you look for something with the right color and you hit it with a hammer.
My kids call my
Papa
dad.
color.
My kids call my dad Papa, and of course he's Indian, so
Really?
he could be our pop of color.
Then, in the same blog post, he puts a link to a company that makes bow ties and boutonnieres out of wood.
Out of wood.
Wooden bow ties and boutonnieres.
Are they hard or are they like veneer?
No, they're hard. They're rigid, like thin plywood.
What?
Pastor Ed Young is a fan of the wooden boutonniere and thinks that it could really help other pastors. So, because, sometimes people might be thinking about leaving your church because they don't like your preaching, but then they're going to pause and say, but that wooden bow tie, that knocked me out.
Well, if it's like olive wood from the Holy Land or something, then it might.
Yeah. Or it was scented and it just sandalwood.
I don't know if this worked out, but he was pitching a television show, a reality show about him and his family at one point.
Oh, that might be a sign.
He's also the same pastor who once preached a sermon at his church from the turret of a real tank. And he put
inside the church?
Yeah. They had to reinforce the whole platform to get this tank up there, and he did a series about sexual relations and marriage, and he spent a week in his bed with his wife on top of the roof of the church, he's that guy. And I interviewed him once, and
Did you notice that his wooden bow tie?
No, I noticed a lot of other things, but he did not have a wooden bow tie.
Okay, but that's how we get attention. That's what pastors have to do to get attention so that they can deliver the message. A pop of color and a wooden bow tie.
That's what Jesus did. Only he wore his, wood.
Oh, yeah, I see where you're going.
And I think he got a lot of attention.
I see where
without
you're going.
a bow tie.
But it's nice to know that our leaders are majoring on the majors. That's the theme today.
Majoring on the majors?
In the meantime...
Tattoos and wooden bow ties.
Yeah. In the meantime, you heard about HBO's new show?
I have.
The Leftovers?
Which I always thought would have been a great title for a VeggieTales episode about the Rapture.
Yeah.
They've stolen it.
That would have been good. HBO is producing a new show called The Leftovers. One of our listeners actually pointed it out to me. I'd read about it somewhere else. But they thought... And I don't think they looked into it very deeply because they said, well, isn't it interesting that HBO is going after the faith market?
No, they're not.
No, they're not. They're not. It's called The Leftovers. It's from the co-creator of Lost and the writer of two other shows that I don't know.
I've not been hitting my endorsement bell.
Well, I'm not endorsing. This is
not endorsement. It's product placement.
Okay.
Product placement.
They've teamed up to helm an enigmatic new series about, quote-unquote, the birth of religion in the face of mystery. The conceit of The Leftovers... is like an evangelist's dream. One day, a day like any other day, 2% of the Earth's population vanishes. A baby disappears from a car seat. Unmanned cars collide into each other. Unlike the Christian rapture, however, the sudden departure, as it's called in the show, is just that. There's no method to the madness. So the Pope disappears, Shaquille O'Neal disappears, Gary Busey disappears.
This is like, what is that called? When a celebrity dies, it always happens in threes, and you got to figure out what the connection is.
Yeah.
It's like 6 Degrees of Separation,
Oh, yeah, okay.
Kevin Bacon, all that. They're all connected somehow.
Yeah, and that's what the whole series is about, is like, why did these people get taken? And the series actually starts 3 years later. and to see how people are reacting. And there's been no explanation. So it's been 3 years. 2% of the world's population has vanished. And there's no explanation.
But it doesn't keep happening.
No, just one-time thing.
One time.
Yeah, so it's like a rapture.
Okay.
It was basically, the storyline was inspired by the Christian rapture, but they wanted to, of course, not do the Christian rapture.
When you say
They wanted to do
Christian
their own
rapture, let's be specific. We're talking about a particular form of dispensationalism that believes in a certain rapture, because not all Christians believe in that kind of a rapture.
And the word does not appear in the Bible at any point.
That's right.
Or wooden bow tie. How would I, who has a rapture? How would I describe the group that has a rapture?
I would talk about the premillennial dispensational view of a rapture.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
A little long.
Hey, you want specifics?
How about pop of rapture? Can I just get a pop of rapture?
Just a little bit.
Yeah.
How about 2%?
2%. Okay, so 3 years later is when the show starts.
Got it.
So you don't see everybody disappear. You actually come into the show, and it's already happened, and they're going on with their lives.
Perfect setup for a prequel.
But there's one group that has formed basically a new religion around the event.
Mm-hmm.
So rather than a religion producing the event has produced a religion. And this group, they all wear white. They've taken vows of silence, and they chain smoke.
That sounds like Los Angeles. I mean, what's...
They're not as silent. And they hold up signs, just like with weird enigmatic phrases.
So but they sound like mimes, only they're wearing white instead of black.
Well,
they don't
French,
talk.
yeah,
I mean, it sounds like Cirque du Soleil. Again, I come back to Cirque du
French
Soleil.
Canadian.
They're probably, yeah.
They hold up baguettes and charge you $150 to yeah. I don't think it's a show that has anything. It's definitely not HBO.
But the
reaching out.
The point is they're taking a contemporary setting and saying, how would a new religion emerge? And it emerges from a mysterious, inexplicable event.
Yes.
And then people try to make sense of it.
So Jesus appears to have risen from the dead. You can't explain it, so you make up a religion.
Mm-hmm.
Muhammad appears to whatever he did that got people's attention.
Apparently, you've not studied Islam.
What? That wasn't impressive? You make up a religion. That's kind of what they're saying. So it's one of those shows that starts with the assumption, like most of the coasts do, especially in media, that of course we know that all religion is false, but wouldn't it be interesting to see how one forms?
Well, actually, I have not obviously seen the show yet because it hasn't debuted, has it?
Right, no, it's not.
But I actually think it sounds really interesting, and
I think it sounds dumb.
And it fits with what I wrote about in With a little bit, which is the origin of human religion being a mysterious, uncontrollable world that we are trying to get a form of control and explanation over it. So I agree. But that doesn't...
Wait, what do you agree with?
I agree that that's the origin of human religion.
Oh, okay.
But it doesn't invalidate the Christian claim of God incarnate in Christ and the resurrection.
Okay. But the rapture...
What about it?
Is that a human form of religion?
It is a human interpretation.
It's a specific interpretation.
It's a specific interpretation of New Testament passages, which is not without disagreement.
Right. So, what do you think? You're gonna watch it? They say it's different than Lost in Lost, because it's the co-creator of Lost. He said in Lost there were supernatural things happening, kind of perpetually, that you had to try to figure out why are these things happening. And in this, there was one supernatural thing happened. It was in the past, and it's seeing how people interpret it going forward.
And it's probably different because in Lost there wasn't tons of nudity.
Right.
And this is HBO.
Yes, so there'll be nudity and a lot
profanity.
of violence, people getting their heads chopped off, and dragons.
Right.
Do you watch Game of Thrones?
I don't have HBO.
I don't have HBO either, but in a hotel, because you travel. We travel.
Yeah, but...
I haven't bumped into Game of Thrones. I think I watched half of an episode once, and it just seemed kind of dumb. It seemed like a low-budget Lord of the Rings, but it seems to be doing quite well. But that's unrelated. Okay, so are you going to watch it? Do you have HBO? Do you care?
Leftovers.
The Leftovers. Is that a good name for a TV show? The Leftovers? It kind of seems like you're setting the bar pretty low.
Well, is that what they call themselves? The people
the get-go. I don't know.
Why not like the Untaken?
Oh, the Untakeables.
The Untakeables.
I don't know. Our old friend Neil deGrasse Tyson is keeping up his relentless attack on religion as the enemy of science. He was speaking at...
I like him so much.
Yeah.
Just like when I've seen him interviewed and stuff like that. Why does he have to do this?
Because he's convinced. There's a group of people that have become absolutely convinced that America is losing its way in science specifically because of the Christian right. And when we oppose, evolution being explained in classrooms, and when we oppose global warming, and when we oppose other things for which there's fairly significant evidence in favor of, you can kind of see the point.
Yeah, no, I can't though. I'll be honest. See, it's like demonizing the entire auto industry because of drunk drivers. You can't just say all religion is bad and it's opposed to science because a handful of people have chosen to posture it that way.
Right, and here's the thing, because he was at the Cannes Advertising Expo. I have no idea why.
Yeah, why would he be there?
In France, where they give out awards for marketing and advertising, and he gave a talk. And he says, the U.S. today is sacrificing its scientific excellence just as the Arabic world did a millennium earlier.
And he's saying this in France.
Yeah.
That's not going to go over well,
he's
man.
saying in France. He says, from about 800 to 1100 in the Islamic world was one of the most intellectually fertile periods in the history of the human species, which is true. It gave us algebra and Arabic numerals and stuff like that. But, and this is where I need to research this to see if he's oversimplifying, like he's done quite a bit in the past, but a Muslim cleric, Hamid al-Ghazali, undid that with Islamic conclusions that manipulating numbers is outside of your spiritual responsibilities and that all the events around you are the will of Allah. That's a quote from Tyson, not from Hamid al-Ghazali. That's his view of what Ghazali said.
Stay within your area of expertise.
That's usually a good idea. So, and then Tyson goes on to say, the casualties were mathematics and curiosity about how the universe works. If you're content with an explanation that the world works the way it does because God made it that way, quote, you'll not be the one who discovers gravity, unquote.
Okay, wait a minute. That's funny because Isaac Newton, who defined the law of gravity, was a devout Christian.
Don't bring that up. See, this is the irony of this argument, and they use this argument in Cosmos, and Seth MacFarlane uses this argument. He produced Cosmos. He goes on the late night talk shows and talks about this. That what's happening in America is the same thing that happened in the Arabic world way back then, when religious people took over and eliminated scientific.
Okay. That is such a straw man. That's just dumb because by any research I've seen,
we're less religious.
We're less religious. They're not taking over anything.
Yeah.
So
the funny thing is he's pointing back to basically the post-World War II decades when American science just took off and in the space race, and how wonderful it was when we were doing so much with science in the 50s and 60s and 40s, and now we're not because of Christianity?
No.
Which didn't exist in the 50s
First
and
of all,
60s?
there's two different things going on there. Number one, the space race, as we've talked about numerous times before on this podcast, was largely fueled by our competition with the Soviet Union.
Politically motivated.
Right, politically motivated. So when the Cold War ended, a lot of the energy around our space program also was taken away. But secondly, you can't blame religion for making American teenagers uninterested in science. For that, you got to blame video games and entertainment
and Miley Cyrus.
I think Justin Bieber.
More to do with because the people that are still very, very interested in science tend to be more minority and immigrant populations.
Hey, we need
population. Can I say minority?
No, we need to get our ethnic stereotype alert on the Phil Vischer podcast.
Oh, come on.
Seriously.
Do you know why? First of all, because their cultures value accomplishment more, and also because they've been less culturalized into pop culture in America, where all we want to do is have some fun.
Hey,
I've got a feeling I'm not the only one.
There's a lot of technology and innovation going on in Silicon Valley, and I'm pretty sure it's not all fueled by Asians.
Half of it. No, it's not. No. But
I think the bigger issue here is
you're right.
There are
it's not basic science. It's guys trying to be cool.
Yeah, but there are certain ethnic groups which have excelled more in these areas, and I think it has more to do with those family units highly valuing education, right? That's part of it.
That's it.
But the other side of it is there is a major education problem in the United States, and I don't think you can rack that up to religion.
No.
It's far bigger than that.
Does The Simpsons make Americans dumber, or are The Simpsons dumb because of America getting dumber already? Which came first?
Chicken or egg?
Yeah, Homer or the real Homers of Middle America?
I'm not sure it matters. I think
I need to know who to blame.
You just have to break the cycle.
Break the cycle of Homerism. But how do you do it if we all keep watching?
I don't watch The Simpsons.
South Park and Family Guy and all the movies. I mean, men in movies are either superheroes or complete morons. Those are the only two options.
Right.
Either you're supernaturally amazing, or if you're not, you're a moron. You're an adult child.
Well, there's some that are both.
like Seth Rogen in Green Hornet.
Yeah, but that was a terrible movie.
I know. We don't like that. We don't like that. We don't want our superheroes to be complete morons. They can be every men who become super. We like that, like the original Spider-Man, when he got bit by a spider and then discovered he has superpowers, as opposed to the new Spider-Man, where he made his web shooter.
Where he's a super smart kid.
Amazing science, which we resent that. You're too smart. I mean, that's why we don't want there to be valedictorians anymore, because it offends us.
What about Iron Man, though?
That's
Iron Man is brilliant, and he creates all of his own stuff.
But
he's like
rich.
the Elon Musk of superheroes.
He's mostly rich. Sure, he's brilliant.
No, but
he's mostly rich, though. That's
but he's brilliant.
But what if he was poor and brilliant? We wouldn't be interested.
Did you not see
at all.
Iron Man 3 when he has to remake the whole suit in that kid's garage?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's right.
He's stripped of all of his money and power.
Of his, Okay.
So I disagree.
So what's your point?
My point is he's smart. He makes science cool. And then you got Banner. What's his name? Bruce Banner, right?
Yeah.
He's smart.
Yeah,
he's a scientist.
That's a storyline from
then
what, 50 years ago?
You got Bruce Wayne. He's smart.
He's troubled.
I feel like Frodo. I'm smart. I can do it.
He's troubled.
Yeah, but he's smart.
So what's your message to Neil deGrasse Tyson then?
I think
he's smart.
He is,
and he thinks we're all homers because of Christianity.
I think he's correct that American culture has a problem with science. He's correct that our educational system is failing in many ways.
Yeah.
To blame it on religion is absolutely ridiculous when by any measure religion is losing influence in the United States, not gaining it. Mm-hmm. So I think he's got a straw man there, and it's easier to poke fun at some religious extremists who are anti-science rather than looking at the real systemic problems that are going on.
I like that. Do you think we can get him on the show?
I would love to get him on the show.
Okay.
You got Bogosian on the show.
I did.
Who do you reach out to? Reach out to somebody.
I don't know who to reach out to.
Who knows? Maybe one of his PR people has like a VeggieTales tattoo. Maybe they're big fans.
Just because it's Bob the Tomato doesn't mean it's right.
That's right.
To have a tattoo.
I would be curious to know, is anybody aware of anyone out there that has a VeggieTales tattoo? Like anyone who used to work at Big Idea, would they have done that? You don't have a VeggieTales tattoo.
No, I don't like tattoos. They scare me.
Yeah, you're not that kind of guy.
No, I'm pretty square. It's hip to be square, though. That's what I hold to. At least that's what that one singer told me once. 2 more stories.
2 more. How much time?
2 more stories. We're doing okay. But wait a minute. Anything that we've said so far, would Christian have stopped us and said, "What does this have to do with me?" Well, she has a little tattoo on her ankle, I think.
Does she?
So she's off the hook. I think so. I'm not sure. I may be making that up. Oh, Bill says yes. She does have a little tattoo on her ankle.
The director says yes.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, she has a tattoo.
She'll have to defend herself against Pat Robertson.
Has she turned her back on science because of religion?
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
No.
I think, honestly, what Neil deGrasse Tyson and Carl Sagan really don't have a handle on, most people are not that interested in science.
That's a good point.
They're just not as interested.
And they're looking for someone to blame.
As they think we should be. They think we should all, they say, "Oh, look what we discovered about a quark." And then we should all go, "Wow!"
to be fair, though, don't you think the same thing happens the other way? Don't you think there are Christian leaders who think everyone should care as much about faith as they do, and then they have to find something to blame for explaining why don't most Americans think the way I do about God?
Right. Why didn't you find the book of Leviticus as fascinating as I did?
Right, and then they end up blaming Beyonce or something.
So why do we find celebrities so fascinating?
Where did that come from?
My head.
What does that have to do with anything?
Well, look at a magazine rack. What do you see all across the front? Celebrities. People magazine just put out a special edition collector's episode. It's not an episode of a magazine. What is it?
It's an issue.
An issue. I have an issue.
You've got a few, Phil.
People magazine just put out a special collector's issue on what important topic, what person or issue would be.
Okay, I don't know, but I'm going to guess.
Okay.
Is it the royal baby?
No, that would actually, I could get behind that.
Okay.
That seems almost newsworthy.
Is it a person?
Yeah.
Is it this person alive?
Yeah. And they're bigger than a bread box.
Female?
Yes.
Married?
No.
Young?
Why would we be interested in someone who's married?
I don't know.
It's like their life is over.
Is it someone young?
Yeah.
Hollywood star? Movie star?
Hey, you got to guess at some point.
I'm getting there. Is it a movie star?
No.
Small screen, big screen?
No.
Model?
No.
Well, what are they famous for?
They sing.
Politician. Sing. Oh, singer. Beyonce. It's got to be Beyonce.
That would be almost...
Madonna.
She has done enough. Madonna, you'd say, okay, she has earned a collector's edition of People magazine. She's been alive... She's been alive a long time. She's done a lot of work. She has a body of work. This is not that kind of person.
Okay, it's a whole... Do I even know who this... Is this younger... Is this like a teeny bopper...
Miley Cyrus.
Hoochie mama woman that... Miley Cyrus has her own commemorative issue?
It's on newsstands right now.
Maybe they're just banking on the fact that she's not going to last that long. And we might as well cash out while you can.
They're regretting the Amy Winehouse edition they had halfway done.
That's right.
Never got to release it.
Okay.
Yeah, I just looked at that and I thought, because, I've seen Princess Di, you see the Royals, we love the Royals, or the Cubs, if they won the World Series, they would get their own special collectors. Those are the things that we want to collect, right? I just don't feel like Miley Cyrus is at the point in her career where you'd say, I want to hold on to what has happened so far.
There's got to be someone out there, though. Otherwise, they wouldn't have published it.
I know.
That's scary.
And that's what should be scaring Neil deGrasse Tyson more than Christians that are nervous about the implications of Darwinism. Can I just say that? Because I'm more concerned about it. Okay. Did you know... This is interesting. This will be our last story for today. People don't want their children to marry atheists.
What about atheists?
Atheists, they don't have children because they don't think there's a point, because it's all meaningless.
Well, it is true that secular people do get married and have less and fewer children.
Yes,
so.
and the atheists that do have children, we've already discovered, their children are the least likely to accept their beliefs of any group studied.
That's right.
Only 30% of the children of atheists grow up to be atheists.
Right.
Which is even less than... What was it, like Unitarians?
Yeah, it goes up.
It was crazy.
To more religious types.
The Hindu was on top.
No.
Hindu.
You're right, Hindu was, and
Hindu,
then Muslim, and then Greek Orthodox.
Yeah.
Greek Orthodox.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, conservative Christians, of course, are really, really not in favor of the idea of their kids marrying an atheist, as you would expect. But liberal people, 24% of liberals, in fact, don't want their kids to marry an atheist, and they would only be slightly more likely to be unhappy if a family member married a born-again Christian. So liberal Americans, self-described liberals.
So they don't want either end.
They don't want born-again Christians marrying into their family,
right?
Because that's a bunch of dinner conversation nightmare forever.
Mm-hmm.
Almost as unhappy about that as if an atheist marries into their family. Isn't that fascinating?
Well, is it really a matter of they just don't want anybody who has
maybe they just don't want their kids to get married?
I think they just don't want their kids to marry anybody with strong beliefs.
Yeah, that'll mess up dinner conversations.
Right. They're the pacifists. They
kind
do
of
the
middle of the
pacifiers.
road.
Right.
So maybe it's that atheists and born-again Christians have the reputation for being poor dinner guests.
You know what would really screw up dinner is if your kids married like vegans. Because then you got to worry about the menu and not just the conversation. That's disruptive.
That would be right up there. Or Orthodox Jews, because then you've got dietary concerns.
You do.
So what's more hassle?
But they'll eat
keeping
meat.
Kosher or keeping vegan?
I think vegan is much stricter than kosher.
Yeah, it is.
Don't you think? So I would want to know, would evangelical parents be more upset if their child married an atheist or if their child married somebody of the same gender? But if that same gendered person was a very devout believer.
A gay conservative Christian?
Yeah. They're out there.
Yeah,
they're out there. They obviously disagree on
That's a whole different
marriage and sexuality issue.
Wow. How do you answer that one?
With a song, obviously.
If your daughter wants to marry somebody who's gay, would you say, I don't mind? Would you say that's okay? Or would you say that person should really go away and be replaced by someone who doesn't believe in God? Because if you're going to have no grandkids, would you rather they be pro-gay or anti-God? Oh, man, this is a mess of a song, and it's starting to make Sky sob. But at least if we read the blog post of Ed Young in Dallas, Texas, we will know that he can take our fashion sense and really fix us by giving us wooden bow ties and little wood boutonnieres, and that keeps the Holy Spirit close, it keeps the Father dear, and we won't.
Just end it, man.
I was on a roll. I was on such a roll.
I'm about to have
wait a minute, I need one more story. So you can get a tattoo of Jesus as long as your father-in-law isn't named Patrick Robertson. Otherwise, it would make awkward dinner conversation. Goodbye.
I'm gonna shatter that ukulele and make it into some fashion accessory.
See you next time.